Occultists, the old way is not tradition, LD way is not tradition. Red Mountain's ash veils bones etched with Lorkhan's fractured faceless god sigils. Asterisk the faceless god who shaped the world and was shaped by it. Asterisk their rites, no invocation. Asterisk their rites, remembrance, a murder's echo in marrow. The old way is not tradition, it is inheritance, every breath a dirge, every blade a scar. A curse older than blood, occultists they admire. The land breathes in jagged rhythms. Red Mountain's shadow does not fall, it festers. Time coils inward where its ash settles, a wound that never scabs. The Forsworn carve not for power, but to remember. Their chiseled bones bear the visage of absence. Lorkhan's first hollow, etched into flesh by a heart that bleeds backward through generations. What is a god without a face but a crime without a name? Their rituals are not defiance, they are confession. The Reach does not curse its children. It replays its origin. Every scream in the dark is a verse in the hymn of creation's flaw. The mountain pulses, the bloodline cracks. And the old way is not a choice, it is the echo, the scar, the dirge. Carved into bone, the faceless god's sigil is no mere symbol. It is a scar, a birthmark. The Forsworn do not reenact history, they relive it. Their blood carries the weight of a crime older than Mundus. Lorkhan, the thief of divinity, promised the Et Ada a world forged from sacrifice. They gave him their light, he gave them death. When Trinimac's blade split his chest, the murder did not end, it pooled, it seeped. Red Mountain drank the heart of a god and turned to stone. The Reach soil does not cradle crops, it cradles a wound. Every Forsworn ritual is a resurrection, every rune a reenactment. They carve not to worship, but to awaken, to make the mountain bleed again. Their chants are not prayers, they are passwords, a key pressed into the earth's ribs. The bloodline does not inherit power, it inherits guilt. The old way is not choice, it is compulsion. A cycle of knives and echoes. The Et Ada's sacrifice is not legend, it is lineage, and the faceless god. He has no face because his face was never made, only stolen, only murdered, and now, through the Forsworn, he is remembered, in bone, in blood. In the unending dirge of a world born from a lie. The Reach breathed in rhythm stolen from time. The convention of stars sealed the sky's fractures, yet Lorkhan's heart pulsed at Red Mountain's chorea wound, refusing to clot. Here the Forsworn did not worship, they reenacted. Each bone-carved rune mirrored the sigils used to shackle the Aurbis when Lorkhan slit its throat. Their chants were not prayers, they were neural imprints, DNA coiled around an ancient crime. The faceless god they carved, a mirror. A self-portrait of the first murderer, whose blood now thickens their veins. Balance was a performance. The tribunal's hymns clashed with Nerevarine legends, Altmary hymns of conquest tangled with Aelid star chants. The heart's paradox allowed it all to coexist, a stage where history looped like a broken lyre string. Forsworn hunters did not track game. They stalked echo specters of those Lorkhan devoured to forge this realm. Their rituals did not summon Daedra. They excavated memory, a biological archive of the murder that birthed mortal time. What is a curse but an inheritance? The Reach soil drank Lorkhan's blood. Its people bore the aftertaste. When a Forsworn etched their flesh, they did not seek power. They completed a circuit, a feedback loop between killer and killed. The heart's paradox held until it did not, until the red year cracked the mask. But this was the age of illusions, a symphony played on bones. A lie so vast it ached like truth. The runes are not prayers, they are scars, carved not into stone but living bone, each glyph a syllabic wound echoing the first murder's anatomy. The Forsworn chisel until the marrow bleeds gold, a color that no blood should ever been, chant in a language older than the red year's ash. Their voices crack like splitting obsidian. The air reeks of charred hair and something sweeter, putrid, the stench of flesh unraveling at its seams. Before the eruption, the curse was a whisper, a birthmark here, a child's too many teeth there. After the red year, it became a scream. Skin split into fractal patterns, eyes multiplied, joints twisted into angles that defied the Aurbis geometry. The Forsworn called it the old way's return, but the old way was never old. It was a wound kept fresh by Lorkhan's stolen heartbeat, now pounding louder in Red Mountain's molten veins. Their rituals grew violent, not to gods, but to memory. They dug up ancestors and fed them to the flames. believing ash could rekindle a murder that predated creation. They drank the blood of the mutated, thinking it closer to the original sin's flavor. The runes, a map, a confession. A mimicry of the faceless god's own sigils, etched into Lorkhan's body when he was slain. The Forsworn do not know they are reenacting it. Their hands move by inheritance, not intent. The mountains hiss approval. Red Mountain's smoke curls like a serpent coiled around Lorkhan's heart, its pulse now a fever. Every mutation, every chanted syllable, feeds the cycle. The Forsworn are not perpetrators. They are puppets with broken strings, dancing the murder they were born from. And the earth, it gnaws on their bones, waiting for the next act. What does it mean to kill a god who was never dead? The curse does not ask, it only repeats. But their greatest rupture was still ahead. The Forsworn's old way is no custom, it is a compulsion. Each carved sigil reenacts Lorkhan's theft, a wound etched in bone, proof the Aurbis bleeds even through its own kin. What wakes when the last mark is made? The red year split the earth, Red Mountain roared. Lorkhan's heart, buried in Nirn's flesh, began to bleed. The Forsworn did not choose their curse, it chose them. Their bones remember what their minds cannot unsee. The moment Lorkhan carved divinity from the Aurbis and the void that screamed in return. Rituals are not rebellion. They are inheritance. Each rune etched into their marrow reenacts the original theft, a scarred psalm to a god who forgot his own face. The faceless sigils, no eyes, no mouth, no name mirror the void Lorkhan left behind. Mutation followed eruption. Skin turned to bark, eyes to hollow pits. The curse is not punishment, it is proof. A living argument that Nirn's creation was a wound, not a birth. The Reach's children are born with the heart's poison in their veins. They grow teeth where joints should be, lungs that hum with magma. To breathe is to burn, to dream is to witness the Aurbis drowning in its own blood. The Forsworn call it asterisk, the old way asterisk. It is not old. It is primordial, a biological memory of the first crime, passed through generations like an heirloom dagger. Their chants are not prayers, they are DNA screaming. The red year did not create the curse, it unshackled it. Before, the heart's influence was buried deep, now it rises. It seeps into crops, into wells, into the wet soil where babies kick in their mothers' wombs. What wakes when the last mark is made? Nothing that sleeps. Only what was there all along, the echo of a god's murder, etched in bone, waiting to become flesh. The Forsworn carved their devotions into marrow and sinew. Their rituals are not mimicry of faith, they are the Aurbis screaming through fractured DNA, a god's death throes rewritten in helix and bone. The runes, they etch zigzagging scars that bloom like frost across their rib smear, the first wound Lorkhan made in the divine body. Each chiseled line is a syllabic echo of his stolen name, a syllabic wound. The faceless god they worship is no deity. It is the absence where a god once bled, the void-shaped heart of Red Mountain still pulsing with the paradox of a tower that should not exist. The Reach's bloodline carries this inheritance like a fever. Children are born with eyes that glint like smelted iron, their pupils shaped not as circles, but as the jagged sigils of Lorkhan's rebellion. In the dead of night, elders whisper to them in the old tongue, not as language, but as genetic memory, a hymn to the moment Lorkhan gutted the Aurbis, a hymn that rewires their synapses to hunger for the same. The land itself cooperates. The red clay of Reach fields leaches rust into their skin, their hair turns to wiry iron, their breath fogs with the sulfur of a mountain that should be dead. Red Mountain's tower status is no metaphor, it is a wound sealed with divine sutures, a paradox that anchors the Forsworn's curse to the physical world. The mountain's core still hums with the stolen heartbeat of a god, and the Forsworn are its living vent, its shuddering exhale. To touch their ritual scars is to touch the same scar that splits the Aurbis. They do not choose this, they are chosen by the echo. And the echo, unyielding, ensures the first murder is never forgottenly reborn, again and again, in bone and blood. The Forsworn shaman carves Lorkhan's name into ribcage with a chisel of black glass, her breath curling blue in the cold as the runes bleed silver, a ritual not of worship, but of remembrance. Her people's bones hum with the same resonance as Red Mountain's depths, a dissonant hymn to the god who died to birth them. Nearby, the Dwemer scholar's journal, preserved in a rusted Idra box, details how the heart's pulse warped Reach bloodlines, twisting flesh into living conduits. His final entry speaks of a symphony of suffering, his ink smudged by trembling hands before the mountain claimed him. The Nerevarine, crowned in ash and hope, sought to sever the curse by merging Reach and Dunmer magics, only to find the heart's echo had already woven itself into their own veins. Their last battle scarred the land with fissures that still bleed crimson mist at dawn. Each figure orbits the same abyss. The shaman reenacts Lorkhan's murder to contain it, the scholar sought to decode it, the hero tried to outrun it. The Reach's paradox is not its curse, but its people's complicity, how they carry the crime as both wound and inheritance. The faceless god they carve is not a deity, but a mirror. And the mirror shows only this, that to live in the Reach is to be, forever, the weapon of a god's first mistake. Beneath their skin the Forsworn carry a scripture no scribe could write. Rune-carved bones whisper of a faceless god Lorkhan, fractured, his stolen divinity seared into flesh. The monomyth's ink blots where his heart was carved out, the Forsworn's rituals reenact that first wound. Their old way is no choice. It is a scar passed through generations, a curse-made code. The Red Year did not merely darken skies. Red Mountain's roar flooded the Reach with Lorkhan's Poisona bloodline's reckoning. Those who survived did not escape, they became vessels. The green pact bends, the 36 lessons fade. Only the Forsworn's hymns endure, chanting a murder that never ends. What do their runes carve? Not devotion, a confession. Each glyph is a tooth mark on the Aurbis throat, an echo of the day mortality was born. To live in the Reach is to inherit that grip, to breathe the ash of a god's first crime, and to bear in your marrow the weight of his unquiet heart. The Reach does not remember Lorkhan, it breathes him. Each Forsworn pulse is a heartbeat stolen from the Aurbis, a stolen rhythm etched into DNA by the god who carved Nirn from divine flesh. Their rituals bones scored with runes of a faceless god are not prayer, they are confession. A language older than Mid-Rehook, screaming into the void what Lorkhan could not unmake, the evidence of his crime. To look upon a Forsworn is to witness a wound that refuses to scar. Their bloodline is no accident, it is a monument. Lorkhan's heart, buried in Red Mountain, does not rot, it reverberates . Every generation, the cursed titans a genetic echo of the first murder, a code written into marrow that compels them to reenact the original theft. They do not choose their path, they inherit it. The faceless god they worship is no deity, it is an absence. A void where Lorkhan's stolen divinity should have been. Their old way is not culture. It is a biological imperative, a primal scream passed through millennia, demanding the world acknowledge the price of creation. The Reach stands as proof, some sins outlast gods. Some wounds become landscapes, Tamriel's soul is forged in such paradox. Without the Reach, the Aurbis would forget its own violence. Would you call it justice, then, that the Forsworn walk this earth, or merely the final, unquiet breath of a god who could not die? What secrets do Forsworn bones hold beneath their carved runes? The Dwemer's touch on Lorkhan's heart may yet twist the Reach's bloodline further. Could their next ritual awaken a faceless goat